Did I miss anything, Alona?
I will add, thank you so much for the introduction. I will add that I actually run the Adult Skills Center. I'm the deputy executive director, and that is another nonprofit that helps people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And one of our programs is the Sanctuary, as you mentioned. But we have a lot of different programs
Yeah, you
that,
got a
that
lot of
support, yeah,
plates.
that support individuals. I said with IDD,
IDD?
intellectual developmental disabilities. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. I love acronyms, but
Sorry.
yeah, they're always shorthand for that some people may not be familiar
Sure.
with, like me.
Thank you.
So, so Alona, tell us a little bit about your responsibilities. Why did you take on such a huge uh, passion for helping people? What is that all about?
Well, I guess it's a longer story, but I grew up, with a lot of trauma, a lot of needs in my own family, and as many people who end up helping others later in life, that's sort of how it starts. Is
Yeah.
you want to, you have empathy, and so I started, as many do in this field, as a registered behavior technician, working for the Adult Skills Center, and continued my education through a master's and being licensed as a behavior analyst, and just continued to grow our programs. We now support probably about 500 people a day
Wow.
between San Fernando, Santa Clarita, and Antelope Valleys. And then the farm, our agency got a grant, so to speak, from the state for mental health services for people with disabilities. And unfortunately, it was believed that people with developmental and intellectual disabilities couldn't participate in mental health treatment, which is totally not true. And so when we got that grant, we started the sanctuary in order to provide some of those mental health therapies, but we also provide occupational therapy, physical therapy, and all sorts of other therapies at the sanctuary. It's home to about 30 rescued animals, so it's a really wonderful
And we're
community.
talking like real farm animals, not
Yes.
like cats and dogs.
Yes, yes. And I live at the farm in full disclosure, so I'm sort of the de facto caregiver to the farm and to the animals. So that is a lot. When I tell people about myself, I like to say I have 3 kids, 30 animals, and 300 employees.
Yeah.
It's kind of a fun way to succinctly put it.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I am so impressed with all that you do every single day for so many people in so many different ways. But I'd like to get into the topic of today's show and how we met in the first place, why we met in the first place, and what that all means to you. If
Yeah.
if that's okay, share as much as you feel comfortable with.
Absolutely. I'll share everything. I hope it helps anyone out there because I was really looking. I was direly looking when I found you. So I hope other people can find you as well. So it started with, like I mentioned, I just had a lot of responsibilities. I have 3 kids in total. I'm a foster mom. I have 2 older teenagers, and then I have a biological baby boy who's now 3. So it started when I had him, and I had a pretty traumatic childbirth, and then followed by a pretty intense, stressful year, both personally and and professionally. And I think what we've kind of narrowed it down over the years is what happened was the all the stress combined with some posture issues when you have a baby, as many of out there, a lot of time you spent looking down at your child when you're holding them, when you're breastfeeding, when you're doing all of those things. And so I think just it was a perfect storm of reasons. And I woke up one day, and I know exactly what day it was because my life changed forever. I woke up with a migraine, and I was like, okay, this is a bad migraine. A couple of days went by, a week went by. It wasn't getting better, it was getting worse. And I mean, like, level 10, like, you can't do anything pain. I have a lot of responsibilities, as you just heard. I have 3 children. I'm a single parent. I have a huge company to run. I have all the animals, and I couldn't do anything. And I was scared I was going to lose everything because weeks turned into months. And I tried everything, and I mean everything. I tried acupuncture. I tried, well, I have Kaiser, so in Kaiser, they tried everything, all the different medications. Tried every medication on the market for a migraine, all the shots, Botox, neuro blocks. I mean, everything that exists. At one point, I got a book my therapist gave me that was called like 1,000 Ways to Treat a Migraine, and I just started literally crossing one off at a time, going down the list of 1,000 things, and I almost got through all of them. That's how bad it was. It lasted about that process of desperate searching for something to help me. That lasted about a year.
Ouch.
And I really thought I wasn't gonna be alive anymore. Like I really. It was one of the most traumatic things that has ever happened to me. And in desperation, I had to take some medical leave at work. I actually, which, side note, turned out kind of cool because I ended up staying at the farm because I couldn't do much. I couldn't use a computer. That was one other thing. So I had to like do everything live in person. So I actually ended up starting to treat more clients myself, which was a beautiful thing during that time. But during that time, I was at the farm one day, and when you have a migraine, everyone gives you recommendations. So so and so I know tried this, and so tried this, and trust me, I mean, I did Reiki, I did it all. There isn't anything I didn't try. So one day I was at the farm, and one of my fellow therapists was like, "You just don't look good," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm not good." And she's like, she sent me a text that someone who knows someone went to a chiropractor, but not just a regular chiropractor, someone who specializes in upper cervical care. And she was in the same boat that I was, years of migraine with no help, but it was in another state. So I hit the internet and I started looking for someone who does that, but here, and I was shocked to find Dr. Palaki, who was right here in Santa Clarita. And I called on a Saturday crying, I remember, and Dr. Palaki actually picked up on a Saturday. His office was closed, and made me an appointment for Monday. I came in on Monday, and that's sort of where our journey started. And that was 18 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So step by step, how do you remember that first interaction? How'd you feel about it? What looked to you different than the 1,000 things that you checked off in that book? And what was your experience moving forward?
Okay, so the first office visit, I mean, I'll be honest, it was, at that point I'd spent $20,000 probably on medical treatments and countless doctor's visits. So I had sort of a careful apprehension, like, okay, this is just one more thing. You're always kind of like hopeful in that first visit with a new treatment, but also like you don't want to get your hopes shot down because it's so painful. To have, a little bit of hope and then it disappear. So the office staff, first of all, was amazing.
Thank
just
you.
a really like warm and, awesome atmosphere. I think, I mean, if I'm honest, one of the other things was I was surprised that the price was really like doable. It wasn't, this new this $500 new treatment. It was, I believe, $79 or whatever it was at the time. And so it was just, I felt pretty comfortable with it. I didn't feel like there was like a sale going on. Dr. Palaki shared with me that, the reason you got into this field is because of your own migraine story. And so that made me feel instantly more understood and comfortable. Like, this is someone who's been here for years. And I don't know if you've shared with the,
Decades.
yeah,
Yeah.
with the listeners that you were yourself in our situation. And so that was really great. So there was no promises of like a quick fix, which I understood. So what we focused on was, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, is my upper cervical adjustment, and also some of the supplements, because at that point I was on on so much pain medication and anti like migraine medication that I just knew that was also causing the migraine, because medication overuse headache, right? And I was on medication every single day for years, so, or a year and a half or whatever it was. And so getting me off of some of those chemicals and introducing more herbal supplements and things that you can explain better than I can. So those were the two primary treatment modalities. We also did at some point you sent me to a CAT scan, right? To do to have a little bit more information on the adjustments that we were doing. Initially, I was coming in 4 days a week, so every day that you were open. The whole treatment takes 5 to 10 minutes, so it's a really quick stop in. I did it around my lunch breaks typically. And I started graphing my pain level every day, because there wasn't really no pain-free days for a long time. It was just a matter of how much pain I was in. So I started graphing that, and it was really hard for a few months to see the ups and downs. But when I looked at it over time, there was a definite improvement. And the most important part is I was able to access my life, more and more. And that's how I could also tell. It's like, okay, I could use the computer. I could tolerate, being around like a lot of loud children. For example, if I took my son to a play date or whatever, the park, whatever it was, I could, go to work and participate in meetings without feeling overwhelmed by all the stimuli. When you have a migraine, most of you know that that's really hard. So all of those things, began improving. And now I see you once a week probably. And that's honestly, I don't even know that I need to see Dr. Palaki once a week. It's more like, I'm so scared of it going wrong at this point, because I'm so traumatized by how bad it was, that I feel the need to sort of maintain my progress. And so I think that, I might have missed some stuff in between. You can tell me.
Yeah. You're perfect. What I would like to circle back on is you touched on it, the fear that when we know fear, like migraine people know fear, like very few people do. Probably it is a form of like warfare. Like it is war with our own brain. Like it is scary.
Right.
It's scary. You're constantly terrified of, first of all, is this ever going to get better?
Yes.
And second of all, as soon as you do get some relief, when is it coming back?
Right.
It's like a nonstop terror campaign that you cannot get away from. And as you experience and I experience, and so many people that I know over the past 35 years experience with migraines, pretty much nothing changes that. I did explore some of the options. It's been a while since I've gotten conventional medical treatment for it, so you're more fresh with this stuff than I am. But at the time, I had tried everything, and nothing touched it until I found upper cervical care, and it literally transformed my life. I was testing for med school, and I walked away. I walked away from the most prestigious medical school on the planet, interested in me, not the other way around. I wasn't like fighting to get into Johns Hopkins. They wanted me. And I walked away from that. And, you can debate on whether that was smart or not. I'd love to have that degree and still do what I'm doing, but I don't know that that's possible. I don't know that it's possible to work within that framework and still be able to do what I do.
Yeah, it's
If
really
if
sad.
yeah, if I could turn back the clock, I would have, and I would have figured out how.
Right.
Because it's a lot easier for, a Johns Hopkins graduate MD specialist to make a recommendation than a chiropractor,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So,
I will briefly talk about my journey with like Kaiser and more traditional approaches. So, you know, Kaiser refused to even look at my upper cervical. I mean, they're just like, this is ridiculous. I thought that it was interesting that they authorized acupuncture, but not chiropractic care
yeah.
because, it seems like they would be sort of around the same type of, research available on those. And even when so at one point the pain was so bad that I couldn't sleep for 4 days. And if you've ever not slept for 4 days, you know that you sort of lose yourself. And so I was hospitalized at Kaiser for a week, where the preeminent headache person in like the country happened to be one of the heads of their neurology department. She was working on my case, and it ended with me getting DHE infusions for a week, like for an entire week, just throwing up. I mean, it was awful. The second I left the hospital, like the migraine was it wasn't even that gone while I was in the hospital. It was maybe a little better, but as soon as I left, it was just exactly the same. And so the fact that, what you do isn't known is just a really sad fact of our medical system, I think, because, I don't know that enough about it to speak about it, but I feel that there is a propensity towards things that are more like pharmaceutical. All the treatments that I was given were pharmaceutical in nature. None of them were trying to fix the structure or the reason why the migraine was there in the first place. And honestly, most of it made it worse. I mean, there might be like short-term relief from different triptans and other medications for migraines, Botox. I mean, all of those things maybe tiny bit relief, but not enough to speak about, to be honest. And with the side effects and all of the other things, the long-term health effects, I feel like are even worse.
I understand.
Yeah.
Like, only somebody who has been there in the trenches could possibly understand. I hope you can stay when we get back from the break. I want to show how it doesn't have to be like that. You're listening to the hijacked version of the Senior Hour Migraine Relief Mastery on KHTS FM 98.1 AM 1220, hometownstation.com.